Yep.
Nice to see you all this evening. Thank you for getting together to talk about locations for the night market. I hope you got the just packet of information ahead of time. I can also, we will just talk through the options, and also I can share screen with a map, the maps each time, so we can take a look at that. But yeah, that's basically our agenda item, is to talk tonight about 3 options that we're considering for location. We've done some research. We've had some different conversations as a staff planning team with both Beaverton Downtown Association and some staff members at the city, both from like the economic development team and people that work with downtown businesses, and then also just got off a call with some folks from the police department and our traffic engineer and our parking manager to get some feedback from all of them about these locations. So yeah, just to stress that we're very much in the mode of considering what's possible still. So not trying to make a decision tonight, but trying to just get some feedback and keep moving forward with the vetting process, because we're looking at totally new places we haven't been before. So I am wondering, does anybody have questions or comments before we kind of dive into this? Or Jodi, did you want to provide any additional context before I share screen and we dive right into this conversation?
I don't think that there's any context I need to provide. Just I'm super excited to be having an in-person event. And so I think that any of the options are good ones, but there's definitely a lot to look at and a lot to choose from.
Yeah, and I guess one other thing I will just say is that the options that are being considered are definitely what you'll see, and what you saw in what we sent ahead of time is some of the details of it are definitely not concrete yet. So if you feel weird about the arrangement of the booths or the entrances or exits or things like that, we can definitely talk. Everything is on the table to talk about, but just know it's not that they're necessarily put there because they've, all of that detail has been thought about really thoroughly. It's mostly we're looking at sort of the specific streets or the parking lot to kind of think about what's in the surrounding area and what kind of look and feel are we going for, and what feels safe and appropriate for the time that we're in, and all of that. So I will just say those things. And with that, well, let me just ask a process question, I guess, for you all. So we have the 3 different maps. We have some pros and cons. We could talk through all 3 of them and just give you an overview, Jodi and I, of like what we're looking at and sort of how we're approaching them, and then have conversation after all 3 of those. Or we could go option by option and talk about option 1 comprehensively with everybody giving feedback, and then move on to the next one. Anybody have a preference on which works better in terms of the way you're thinking about it? Go ahead, Monica. Oh, can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Okay, I think if we go one by one and talk about it, it will be much easier than collecting the whole information and then trying to discuss each one. I don't know, that's my opinion.
Sound good to everyone? All right, awesome. I just wanted to check because I sort of did one and then pivoted halfway through this last meeting I was in. So wanted to make sure what makes most sense. So I will go ahead and share share screen on this first option. All right. So what you're looking at here is option number 1. This is, just so folks know, this is one of the options that we started to consider last year before we decided that we needed to go virtual. So this is, of course, you can see Hall Boulevard running along the west side of the market, and the market in the green square running along first over to Betts, kind of the corner, kitty corner from the post office, and then running up north towards Farmington. So Jodi, help me with some of the specifics of why we chose this place. And I will chime in too, but you want to say a few things about this one?
Sure. So this area is just east of sort of like the most congested area of downtown. A lot of these businesses that are right in here are not open on the weekends, so there will be a lot of free and open space. There's more, I would say, more parking in this area than there is in like just west of here in sort of the Watson area. And the streets are wide and pretty open. So including the visibility on Farmington and Hall for people who might be driving by, if we do good signage, it could be a really exciting place and an easy place to put something.
So what are your thoughts or questions or ideas about this location?
Okay, do we have any restaurants that they have outside right now dining on that area?
Not in this area, Monica. This is really like a Monday through Friday. The only business that I know that's open on Saturday here is the Jan's Paperbacks,
Okay.
which is right there. But a lot of these businesses are just Monday through Friday. There are a lot of medical and like professional lawyer type offices. The bank right here, which is Columbia Bank, apparently the city has a really good relationship with them so that we can use their parking lot or part of their parking lot pretty easily for like a dining court area. It's a pretty large parking lot. The only real sort of thing that I see and that I personally see in this area is that it feels a little sleepy. It's just south of here on 2nd. That's all or mostly all residential. So we don't want to bother them. Or we do.
Yes, we do. We want to wait them up so they can come to the event.
And I'm sorry, I probably should have also shared, you all saw this. I think we talked through some of them, but we did do the pros and cons list for each location. So for this first one, most of this focuses on, it's centrally located in Beaverton. Jodi talked about visibility. We could, if people are in downtown or interested in going downtown before or after the market, then they would already be there. If the ultimate goal, and we haven't totally decided this, but last year, one of our goals was to bring it downtown, that would help. And that it's still sort of the, that look and feel, even though it is sleepier, as Jodi said. But also some cons that you'll see there. There definitely are more, there's more coordinating that would be necessary and more traffic coordination and things like that and businesses to work with. So
I think I also want to note that oh, go ahead. Were you going to talk about capacity?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did measure out the distance and the size of all of these 3 locations that we're presenting. And so we have a general sense of, according to current COVID distancing guidelines, how many people, total people, including staff, volunteers, vendors, everyone, we can accommodate in all of these spaces. And so this particular space is about 300 people.
I have a question. So would each of the 3 exits be manned by someone? So when someone leaves, they'll inform the person at the entrance that, okay, we've now got space for somebody to come through?
So there would be staffing at the entrances and exits, but the strategy that we're talking about currently in order to control flow mostly rests on the ticketed entry. So so it wouldn't just be if one person leaves, somebody comes back in terms of the store, like when you go to a store. What we're talking about is that you get your ticket from 4 to 5 or 4 to 5:30 or whatever it is. And those people we wouldn't sell more tickets than there's space for, or not sell, but we wouldn't give out more tickets than there's space for. So that would be the primary crowd control.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then I have a question for the tickets, because that's what will face us in any. So maybe people, they don't know about the ticket, or they don't know how to do it, or they don't have internet access, and they start to coming. So, like, are we able to keep them waiting outside, maybe like 40 minutes? And how will organize like the social distancing, like distance, and like with all the COVID issues?
I'll answer those. I think we had talked when we first started talking about ticketing. Access was one of the big questions that we all had, and I think to that question, I think that a certain number of those tickets will be available online to reserve online. A certain number might be, I mean, we're open to ideas. A certain number might be available to pick up at the library. A certain number might be available at the door. A certain number, I mean, I would also think maybe, we could consider the idea of like ambassadors somehow that are, connecting people with tickets or something like that. So the ticketing idea, definitely accessibility is something to think about. As far as the social distancing, I think that the best strategy for doing that is to create pathways like aisles that go sort of one way, one direction. Yeah, I mean, we haven't entirely fleshed it out because we don't know what space we're going to be using yet, but just keeping people moving in one direction, up and down, so that, people don't cross paths. Go ahead, Monica.
Are we gonna have like a bracelets with different colors so we know the times and the people that should not be there after certain time? So you can see, is that how you guys are planning?
Probably something like that, yeah.
Okay.
And the county health department does require that we have specific staff or volunteers dedicated to compliance of COVID measures.
I think it's a good idea having ambassadors, like having like tables where people can handle, handle the 4 to 5 tickets. Another table is, like different hours that the people want to come and pick it up, and having that set up that we will be able to pass them if they want to come for the 3 o'clock, for the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever. So I think it will be more easy like that than people trying to go to the library to pick it up. I don't know. I think that idea of the ambassadors is a good idea.
Great. Yeah, we will definitely have to have some extensive conversations on how do we do those ticketing things. So I'll make note of some of those pieces, and we will definitely come back to that part of the conversation. It'll be important around access and really different than other years. Other comments or questions or ideas about this map at this moment? We can also loop back.
Yeah, my just one will be the car, like flow, because the house street is one direction, and that area is super busy all the day. So how we will help with car flow, so we will not bother the streets people or the other people businesses, like because we on the other side we have like bar and grill, and we have Ava, so I don't know.
I think you're looking at option number 2 that has Avas near it. So we, but I will answer your question anyways, in terms of what we know so far.
Yeah, like people that came from Hall or from Pete's Avenue or the second. So I don't know, like we need maybe some volunteer to help keep the car floor, or because Hall is very important street on Beaverton, and we don't want like to bother the traffic because it's already like always we have rush hour in that street.
Yeah, and I will just say I just got off the phone with those folks I talked about, and police requested that if we were to use the site that we move the entrance off of Hall for that same reason. They don't want people staging and crowding around Hall. Either in, I mean, I'm sure people will probably slow down in their cars to look over, but we don't want people kind of, you know, lining up on that side. So they kind of suggested we switch that to Tucker or Betts, I suppose, but yeah, not on Hall. I think in terms of the flow and the parking, I mean, that's the main thing that we were just discussing. And I think the idea would be that we would, at least from our parking manager's perspective, that it would make a lot of sense to designate a couple of different parking areas, whether they be close to here or even, you know, over by City Hall, and be, you know, helping to move people over into this area. One thing to just remember is that we're not talking about 8,000 people showing up at the same time, right? We're talking about ideally 300 people showing up at the same time if we were to use a site like this. And then maybe some transition. So maybe you have, you know, more than that at a certain time, but, and also you have people coming as families, right? So not necessarily 300 individual cars for 300 tickets.
Yeah.
But yes, we definitely
It's
have
a
to give some.
area, like I'm seeing like a parking lot, and those parking lots will be empty. So like for parking, this will not be, but my concern is the flow for the cars. That's it.
Mhm.
But I think because it's small, it's not big as every year, it will be a little more easy on that part. It's not going to be too crowded. It's not going to be too many cars because we have limited. So.
Shara, were you gonna jump in there?
Between the first map and the second, because I remember last year when we got a map, I went to the location and look at it. We have, in one side, we have a couple houses and we have a tree, a lot of grass, flowers, some stuff. How are we gonna take care of that to not get like, are we gonna have a cover for this or not? And I'm thinking about like letting people to park around the city hall. It's not a long way, because I remember when we did a Black Lives Matter march from the Beaverton to City Hall, it was not a long way. Like for 5 minutes, people can walk. If you have a police on the road, to just let people come from the other side to this side from Farmington or Canyon Road, it's not gonna be a lot of traffic around the area.
Shara, can you repeat your first question? Was it around how we're gonna impact residential, like houses in the area?
The garden.
In one side there is a houses and they have a tree and there is a lot of flower grass area. So are they gonna be safe, or a lot of people be in a place it gonna get any damage for people property around? But I'm mixing between the first and second map. I'm not sure which one was.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Because I think this particular one, at least it doesn't immediately, it's not immediately adjacent to houses, but the second one does have some more
Maybe
crossover.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you're talking about the second option.
Maybe, as I say, last year I went to the location, not this time, because we got it just today. I didn't have time to go around again. But for like people, if they park around the city, maybe some of us, I will volunteer to just pick them up to the event site and come back. And hopefully like COVID not be around till that time. You are talking about like June, August, July, something like that.
August.
So hopefully by that time, yeah, COVID is gonna go and we'll be more free, more space for more people.
All right, I'm going to bring up the second map since we've already sort of been talking about that one as well. And they are very similar. They're both the T shape. This one is between, so this middle street is Washington. And then it stretches east and west on Second. So also hits Hall on the other side. There, and I think our list of pros and cons was pretty similar to the last one, but recognition that this one is a little bit less sleepy, a little bit more urban feeling, because there's some more things going on there, and some more buildings and things around that area, and some nice views of different important landmarks. Jodi, other opening comments about this one?
I think just it's worthy to note that the capacity at this one is very similar to the first one. And yeah, this definitely has a little bit more logistical complexities. It would require more conversations with the businesses around there, which I don't think is a bad thing. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, second one, we don't have much parking lot around. That was what I am talking about. This one, it was not like very good one.
Shara, I think the parking lot next to the ski bank will be available, and the library, the parking lot next to the library will be open too. So this will be in the south, this picture. So,
but not around the T shape. I was talking about that, but yeah, sure. Parking lot, library parking lot is
yes.
so big. In the both map, we can just use this one as well. But around, it's not that much space.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, Monica, go ahead.
Between from the location 1 to location 2, what is the distance walking? Like, it's not that far. I know the air. It's not, because if we chose 1, because we're talking about that the number 2 is more close to the residents. There's more homes around, maybe bothering the neighbors. But if we choose number 1, it's not that far for people to walk, and we're more comfortable being there because it's not bothering neighbors. There's not many businesses there that it might be conflict with us. But that's I think what I want to know. It's not a big distance between one or the other.
No, not at all. It's just on First and over on the other. If you flip the T and move it, just right on the other side of Hall and up 1 block. So it's really like 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So for that hour of entrance, would that include the food eating and the stage area? Would that include access to the stage and the food area?
I think for whatever period of time we pick for the tickets, it would include your whole night market experience. So it doesn't have to be an hour. We could make it longer than that. That hasn't been decided yet. If you all feel that an hour and a half is the right amount of time, or 2 hours, or whatever it is, we can still adjust.
So my concern there would be, I feel that the food court area and the staging should be relatively close together, so that whilst people are eating, they can enjoy whatever's going on the stage, because that will also determine, that will, then we can maybe shorten the time and then get more people in. Because then you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
I think that thinking about that and also considering what the county requires for safe dining areas and safe stages and performance, because there are also a lot of restrictions on performances. For example, singing and interactivity and call and response and different things that I think it's good to note what you're saying, and I'm not sure if it's possible because the dining area has to be like its own separate area with like defined entrances and exits. So, but it's definitely worth considering when we decide of an area and decide on how we're gonna set it up.
So
Okay.
if our time is short, like just 1 hour, it's best to not let people eat because you are taking time to order and eat. You're gonna miss the whole night market. If our time be longer, that's a different case, but for 1 hour, just let people go around all the vendors, just enjoy a little performance, and then they can do order and take out.
I think one interesting thing to note in this area that I just thought of that might be a benefit is that there are several places, including the city park, where somebody could purchase food and then go and eat it somewhere else.
So this one,
One just point of clarification. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
so for this map, the food area and the event stage are completely on the opposite ends. For the first map, they're relatively close. So I'm just wondering, for the first map, will the stage be visible from the food area? Because if that's
So we just put those in there as like placeholders. These aren't at all like what it's actually going to look like.
okay.
Well, and one point of clarification, that event staging, that actually means like our space to have the event. That doesn't mean the stages. I realize now that it's labeled kind of confusingly. That's actually just like the back, like our green room or our area to have supplies and things like that. That's what's noted there.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then, because I thought that's actually a stage where, because there's not going to be performance, right? There's going to be a virtual type of performance.
I think we're hoping to have some amount of performance there and then live stream it maybe on social media. But we haven't marked on these maps where a stage could fit yet.
And it won't be like what we've experienced at the round, where a lot of people are sitting and watching with their food. That definitely won't be what it is, probably.
There is a tendency for people to gravitate towards the stage area, right? When they're with their food, they're like, okay, let me see what's going on. Let me see what's, playing. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to separate those two. So just bear that in mind.
That is definitely true.
Yeah.
And I have a proposal for the entrance. Can we make it on the second? So we'll be next to the parking lot, city parking lot and library. And so we don't need people, they go around, because many people, they will park next to the library and they can walk by. So we don't want them to go all the way to the first to get into our event. So I think we need to put the entrance on the second.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, the other thing to add about this map that is also an additional factor that's kind of complicating and maybe is why that entrance got set right there. Although I think that's a really good point, Ahmed, is that the First Street Dining Commons that's currently there blocking the street is adjacent to where it currently says entrance. So I think we have to still talk about like, what would that even mean? And how do we interact with that space? Is that space still gonna be there? All of those things. But my guess is that that's why that landed there in this temporary proposed thing. But maybe we don't want to encourage the crossover there or someone having to walk through that to get to the market, so. All right, I'm gonna move on to the third map so we can look at that together. This map is of parking lots at the Beaverton Christian Church. So it's off of Allen and Menlo. This is a really different format just because of the backdrop and because it's a square parking lot that doesn't have that urban feel. to it. There are certain things that may make it easier in some ways in order to be able to just sort of position vendors and take over the whole parking lot for most of the weekend. There's some restrictions on Sunday, being there on Sunday. But in general, that may be easier logistically in some ways. It also would bring the event closer to Allen Boulevard, which has been something that's been a topic of conversation before. May not be as visible and is, you know, farther away from where we've done it in the past. So those are a couple things to say about it. Anything additional you want to say about this one, Jodi?
Just that due to the size, the capacity is a little bit larger in this space, and we anticipate if we were to go with something of this size, we're looking at about 440 people that can. That would be the max capacity for that space.
I don't know why I thought it was smaller than the other spaces. I don't know why. I think I like one of the pros is that it's dealing only with that. It's not nobody else around to deal with other businesses or any other, you know, people that it has to be in contact. So that will be ideal. It's a little farther though from the other two. So I don't know how people will like to walk over there, or I don't know. It's a good idea for the Allen project and all of that, but I think it's a little further from people whose most of the time is out downtown and places like that. So, but it's a good thing because it's larger and we have more people there.
And that area like has a lot of parking lot, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think out of this three, I would say this. I mean, I like this spot compared to other two, because like I think it has more conveniency and less logistics. I think it could be easily manageable over here versus the other two.
The Fairgrove elementary school is so near to it too. And it has like playground area, maybe kids they want to be in, and it's accessible. I like it.
Manijeh, hello everyone. I agree with both Hiral and Ahmed. I like this option. However, we noticed that we have some restrictions if we want to have the event on Saturday, Sunday as well. And a little bit, I like it. I like the other two options because they are closer to the city hall, and that brings that memory that the community has of our previous night markets. So this is going to be, to me, I feel a little bit isolated. But having more people, that's a good point. And also having more freedom about kind of, as Hiral said, less logistics and all that, that sounds great. But to me, it's just closer to my heart to have it closer to the city hall.
I have a question, Alexis. Do you think if we do it here, that will make some people will not attend because like religious concern?
I was curious if any of you would bring that up. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, like I think some people, like we have some people, they will not come if they want to come. I don't know.
But Ahmed, it's not inside the church, it's outside.
Yeah, I know, but you know,
most of the events, sometimes they are just holding it inside the church and still some people is going. But outside the church, it's just a big open place.
I understand that, but you know, some people, especially they are not educated, they will be panicked, like, oh, like we will not go there.
Maybe they're not gonna come Thursday, but when they saw on social media, we are all taking video and pictures and showing the night market. The second day they will want to. Yeah, so this place is so similar for the library side when you are doing the farmer market. It's so accessible for people, just go around. It's bigger space. If you can take care of parking lot, we have it.
I saw that before. Like I saw that church before because we tried to have a partnership with them with my organization for the Sunday school. It's so big and it has like even we see, like the area is small here, but it's super big, wide, and it's open. So there's not you will not feel that narrow like the street and the limitation. No, because it's open. Like, to no houses or something, and it's all. But again, like maybe the religious concern. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe
I have
that's
a
it.
couple questions.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Monica.
I was thinking about the vendors because of the other areas, like number 2, they do have restaurants. So the vendors on the number 3 will be more beneficial for them because whatever they're selling, everybody will buy there instead of walking to another restaurant nearby or another little place. So I think for the vendors, I feel, is my opinion, that number 3 will be better to help them.
Yeah, agreed. I think
But
that's a very good point. Yeah.
So, so I have a couple questions for everybody, or I guess one real question. When I think about option 3 and option 1 and 2, well, first is just kind of a side question. How do y'all feel about the accessibility of option 3 in terms of the people who do not drive? Because that might be more challenging. Also, and I don't really know how to say this very well, but I always remember that sort of the initial, the night markets sprung from people who reminisced about night markets in their home country. And when I look at options 1 and 2 versus option 3, to me it feels like option 3 feels more like a one-time event that you set up and you take down, and option 2 and 1 feel like it's moving more in the direction of a street market. If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say.
I'm sorry. I think
Go ahead,
that,
Lynn. Oh.
I'm sorry. I think that that's a good point. I think the area where it's going to be held that night market is going to be very important, the way of the feeling, because and then number 3, I just thinking what you just say, Jodi. Number 3 is like temporary, is not kind of connecting. If you're doing downtown where number 1 or 2, that's part of the city, everybody's there, and it's more like the reflection of what we talked about before starting on the other countries, what they do on downtowns. So that's a good point, Jodi. It is true. Yeah.
Manijeh, were you gonna get in there?
Yeah, Jodi brought up a great point about that, and I really like that point. Also, when you say kind of a name of a building, like for example, when we had City Hall, everybody thought of the event that belongs to the City Hall. And now when you bring the church, everybody thinks, they might think that it's something that has to do with the church, that kind of church event. If we choose option 3, we better clarify that that's not the church event. Still is the city and the kind of city event, something like that. And as I said before, the other 2 options, they are like closest to home. And it's not that far off from the event that people have in mind. And so, and still I go with everybody's feelings. I'm just glad that we're having the event partially in person. I really am excited about that.
Thank you all for all of those comments. Yeah, I think it is a challenge. It's sort of I think we, to some extent, I will just share, I am thinking about also the long-term vision of the market and trying to balance, what are we trying to do this year in COVID versus what are we trying to do long-term, and how do we make the most of the efforts regardless, wherever we choose. Are we moving in a direction? Are we signaling a direction that we want to go, and which of these options would help us build on something in future years with the way that people want it to look? Could be in either direction. And then also I think a little bit about, or I definitely think about that sort of look and feel and the ambiance and where does that play in, and or how would we create that, or what would we need to do, what would we be able to do to create that in either one of in any of these spaces. The logistics are important, but they are things that I think we can surmount. We wouldn't have put an option in front of you that we thought was insurmountable in terms of logistics with business owners or with traffic or whatever. So we could make any of these three options work, we think, at this point. Just so that you know.
So to answer like Judy's question about like accessibility for this area, on Allen, there is like bus 88 and came from Beaverton Transaction Center. And it's super like maybe 3 minutes from the station. So will be accessible. And when you see like maybe 500 feet, the event will be from Allen. But like again, I know the area, and maybe if we will do it here, we will bring new people within night market, because this area kind of away from the original area, and maybe many people they didn't before attend to that event, and this is our goal, to navigate more people or new people to our event. So just one concern is, as Manijeh mentioned, like maybe people, they thought this is like church event, not the city event. So work on that.
Yeah.
So are we saying that there's no possibility to go back to the round at any point? Or are we trying to establish a permanent type of venue?
We are not saying that. No, okay. I don't think we're saying that there's no way to go back to the round.
Okay, because if that's the case, then I think option 3 is feasible, because if we can go back to the round, that will be ideal, because that's what historically is where we've been and where we want to be, so that we can associate with the city. 3, I think, is just good in terms of logistically, parking. It's a bit away from the city, but I think on this one occasion it's okay, considering COVID. That's my thought.
Alexis, sorry. So there is a park belong to THPRD, almost in the same street with Beaverton High School. Like, I think it's on Allen. Why won't do that, like there in the park? Well,
that the Schiffler Park area? Is that what you're talking about?
That park with a big shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we can coordinate with Beaverton School and high school. They have a lot of parking lot next to that event. If I don't know if you can open the like Google Map and share the screen with us. So next to Beaverton on the same street, I think the third or Hearst.
I could, but I'm a little nervous to entertain totally new sites at this point. Not because we've 100% figured it out, but just in this particular conversation, I think if we divert in our last 10 minutes to talking about any other site in the city, that it will kind of take us in a different direction.
Okay.
I don't know what other folks, I know we didn't come to the table and ask you, brainstorming what you know about Beaverton, where would you suggest? We didn't start there. We started kind of where we left off from last year, and that's how we got to where we are now. That's partly because of the timeline and the amount of progress that we need to make. But if other people want to see what Ahmed is suggesting, I'm happy to bring up on that. I just want to bring that up around process right now.
So yes, guys, don't let me down.
I don't want to let you down, but I think we should stick within these three options.
Yeah, Alex, I totally agree with you. Like, yeah, we don't want like to start on zero again. So then now we need to vote.
Well, I'm curious if you all are ready to kind of say what your number 1, 2, and 3, if you had to rank these in order, what your number 1, 2, and 3 would be.
I want just to mention one thing. How about having a plan B after the 3-1? So Saturday in my event, I'm expecting more than 100 people to show up. And we're gonna have like 4 or 5 different tents around and check temperature if we can again hold it in front of the city and around for this year, if COVID be okay going. How about just doing it in the same place? Let's just keep that as a plan B. But if not, between 1 and 3 option, I'll go with one of them. Like the 1 because it's close to city, but 3 is because like you are in one square and you're gonna see all vendors in one time. Because in the T shape, if you've been in that side, it's hard for you to know what's going on here, what's going on here. But in the third option, like you are everywhere, you can see anything around you.
Well,
So I'm wondering
I'll go with the 1 and 3.
I wonder if each of you could put in the chat.
Okay.
So you will save time because time will be matter this year. So if we have like 1 square and people they can go like around, and that will save time.
If you can please put my number one is this option, number 2 is this option, number 3 is this option, because we're trying to rank them in order in case, if you only tell me one option and then that one gets eliminated by some other a business owner or traffic engineer or something like that, then we're kind of like, oh, we got to have this conversation again. So I know it's confusing, but if you can do like 1, 2, 3, 1 being your top choice and 3 being your third choice.
3, 1, 2, okay.
So yeah, however you want to write it. It looks like Ahmed used, options.
Okay, Alexis, can you take mine? Because I cannot do it right now. I don't know why. I want number 1 as a 1. And number 2 is 2. I'm kind of eliminating number 3, in my opinion. So I want Tucker as number 1.
Okay, yes, great.
And then number 2 is the one is number 2 on the list. If I had to vote number 3, it will be number 3, but I don't, right now, after I hear everything, I hear Jodi and all of that, I don't think number 3 will be appropriate because the ambience is not going to be the same as if we do in either one of the other 2. So it's more appealing, it's more attractive. The flavor is either 1 or 2, not 3.
Great. Okay. Thank you all. You were ready and you put them in there, and now I have to like figure out what this means. I need to write it down.
You should have done your poll thing, Alexis.
This is great. This is great. Okay. So it looks like we have 1. Let's see. For option, have everybody on there. Oh, there's Ahmed. Okay.
I think we have a 3.
Option
3, we have 3 people.
I see 2 people. Do you see a third? Oh no, third people. Yes. Okay. Yes. So we have 3 people that voted option 3 as their top choice. And we have,
You want me to make a little grid?
yeah, sure. I'm struggling right now. Yeah, it's hard when, it's always hard. That's like when you're in a, you know, on a hiring panel or a scoring exercise and people have your top choice first and your top choice last, and but we will figure it out where the preferences are here. It's not unanimous, so that's helpful to know. And do I hear any advocates for totally throwing one of the options out? I hear some advocacy to consider a couple of other options. Monica, did you have something to say?
Number 3 is out for me. Like,
Okay.
no.
That's helpful to know. So I'll just, as Jodi's doing the hard work, I will just let you know kind of what our next steps are, since we're coming close to time. This has been really helpful. I will compile the notes from the conversation that I've had with staff, and then we will probably also do a little bit of preliminary research into some of the principal business owners that the city already has relationships with downtown, just to kind of see if there's any absolute vetoes of this process, and also check in with the sort of the First Street Commons scenario. And I think we've pretty much talked through with Beaverton Christian Church folks what the possibilities would be there. What we haven't done yet is check into parking nearby, like, you know, Fir Grove, and thinking about there could be some other arrangements on that property. So we'll think a little bit about what's kind of the next set of questions that we'll have to ask to get closer to seeing if, again, if we have to yank one of these possibilities out of the running. If we don't, and they're all an option after a little bit more vetting, then we will use your direction to choose which the top one is. It looks like we don't have a clear winner today, but this will definitely help.
This is like how we will control people will not get in from different directions. Like, do we will have fence or something? Or
Yeah, we're talking about either fencing or some sort of barriers that would very clearly show where the entrances and exits are, and then people stationed at the entrances and exits. So not like we have the last couple of years where we have had people at the entrances and exits, but it's been a little bit more free flowing. This would be very defined where the market starts and ends.
In this case, then, like number 1 or 2 will be more easy to control.
Why do you say that?
Because like with the church, it's open, wide open. There's no fence, and we don't want like to put people, you know, inside cage, and they have event they're supposed to enjoy. And
That's a really good point.
like if you will put them inside, like, you know, fence or something, I will not feel comfortable. Like, I want to feel like open area. So with 1 and 2, if we control just the streets, we will not have people they can jump in, because it's already like residential and there's houses. So in the church, it's open and anybody can.
Well, and we would have to, especially like for the dining area, I mean, that's a really good point that I haven't even thought about yet. We would have to contain it. So we would have to create barriers. I don't know that that would be fencing, but we would have to create barriers to control entry and exit.
And why we don't do like the way, like just they order and they leave. At least for time matter, and so we will not have like place, and we will think about like can contain like all those things like ventilation, all the things. Because what if it's raining, or that means we need tent, and tent that means we need to be sure there's air ventilation and all the things.
So I think that well, first of all, just so you know that all the vendors are going to be selling their food, it will be to go. All their food has to be sold to go because nobody can eat anything within the market.
Okay.
So if we create a separate dining area, which we are hoping to, that will just be used as capacity allows. So like, for example, with option 2, the one that's close to City Park, like if we had a dining area and it was full, people could take their food and walk down the street to the park, or they could take it to their car. With the church option, you know, if the dining area was full, maybe they could go over to Fir Grove and eat in their parking lot, or, I mean, we would have to talk to Fir Grove, but.
Yeah, there's some amount of how much can we control, right? Also, we know things will happen. And so we have to sort of be cognizant whether or not it's part of the event space, will people walk out and try to eat somewhere?
We don't want to have complaint from Fir Grove Elementary because people, they trash their parking lot because who will clean it? So
Assuming the food vendors will be replenishing their items every hour or every few hours, if it runs out, they'll probably have to run back to their kitchens and make more food or pack more food. It gets sold out within an hour.
I mean, with a controlled amount of attendees, we'll have an easier time, I think, estimating their food preparation than we have in years past. So I don't think, yeah, I think that'll be easy to navigate this year, easier than in past years.
Yep. So last question, what was the reason we are not doing it at Beaverton City Park? It's really a good place and people very familiar with. If it's just because not mixing between night market and farmer market.
That's a principal reason, is that, yeah, the farmer's market is right smack in the dab in the middle of the time that we want to do it. So that's a huge reason. And also, well, we think that construction on City Park will be done by then. It should be, but it's
a good place and
not
people
done
familiar
yet.
with. So if they know it's a farmer market or night market, still they're gonna come and there is access for parking. I don't
think
know.
we'd have time to set up is the concern.
Yeah, the logistical challenges of coordinating with the farmers market, that would be a big burden on the farmers market, and it would be a big burden on us as well to coordinate. They have a really they have a lot of vendors and a very strict flow. We've also in the past, Shara, we've had a lot of there has been a lot of confusion about the night market and the farmers market, and them being the same and being different. And in terms of the attendees and mostly the vendors, feeling like they want to go get into the farmers market and they think they're applying to the farmers market. And we've separated those events a lot to lessen the confusion.
I still remember the first 2 years, it was like a huge issue. That like was a huge issue because people, they felt like they applied for night markets and it was like Beaverton night market.
So I just want to recognize that I know a couple people have to sign off because they have other meetings to be at. So thank you all for your input and for this conversation. There's so much stuff to consider. It's a lot of X factors. Jodi, did you want to say anything about the grid you made, or do we need to process that a little more and send it over email, or what?
Yeah, I think we should process it a little more and send it over email because there's a lot of it isn't immediately clear who is what how the rank comes out.
Alex, can we have more time? Because maybe, I mean, at least I will maybe change my mind, because the church and how we will control the area and people to not get in, because if one person have the virus and he get in without our permission, that will bring us a huge issue. So I think the main idea, I want to be clear about it, how we will control people, because if anybody he already have the virus and get in without our control, people they can sue us as a city. So how much we need a place we can control who get in, who will be out. And this is the more important right now to keep people safe.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I would just say that I want to, as much as possible, remove some of those logistical considerations from your plate, because we have, our events team that's participating in this, and they and Jodi have been in deep conversation with the county already around restrictions and all of that. So not that those aren't factors, they totally are. And I really appreciate people being thoughtful about those things. But but again, we wouldn't have presented an option to you all that we don't think is viable for all of for the safety reasons and all of that. So I think really what I most want you to worry about, if you can separate them, is what is the look and feel, what is the environment, and what is the long-term vision, and how does this support it or not, based on the choice that you all make this year, and try to leave some of the logistics and kind of security concerns to staff, not me, but city staff.
If we would think about long-term, then we need to have it on the street, because keep it with the church and keep it not temporary, I mean permanently, will not be good, honestly, because we need to keep our fingerprint as a night market, so, and as organization. So I think let's go with maybe option 1 and 2. So,
Are you changing your score, Ahmed?
I'm also having a change of heart now after sort of a few more conversations are going on. I'm also having a change of heart only because I like the fact that, once people have got their food, they can go to the park and they don't have to linger around there. And also, I think the market feel is more, you can feel it more in those areas, the T-shaped areas, specifically I think it's 1, 2.
Should I change your score as well?
Yeah, it can change because I'm thinking about with the church area, people may get their food and just hang around there, and I'm concerned about that part. You might have a congruent number of people just stagnant there, and then with the 1 and 2, they can wander off and go to the park or go to the other areas around that area. I don't know. Go to back to the car, go home, call their friends, tell them to come back to the market. I just feel that, the city feel. I have to think about it a bit more, but I'm sort of leaning towards 1 and 2 now.
yeah, if we want to keep this legacy for long term, and this is my dream or my hope, let's keep it on the street, because this will be our fingerprint, and nobody will say, oh, this is city event or church event. So my maybe the second The second option will be first priority, and number one will be the second priority.
I'm sorry to do this, but will the two of you, if you are changing, would you mind putting it in the chat as well, just so that we can
Yeah, that would be great.
save and not make any mistakes?
So are we saying number one is closest to the park, or both of them are closest to the park? Which one's closest to the city park?
Number one is the area on the east side of Hall Boulevard.
Okay, so that's closest to the park.
Actually, I think number two is closer.
I think number two is closer, yeah.
Yeah, number two is
On the
close.
west side, and it's on second instead of first. They're both very close, but
Yeah, number two is closer to the park.
Rehana, if you can change your name because it says Adam, and for record, your name.
we know who you are.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Like I'm looking like, who's Adam?
I have to log on to my son's computer because he has a very good setup. He's got this really nice double screen setup, and it's all professional. So I always come in or log in.
And I want to say hi, Miriam.
Hi, salam.
Miriam, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you for letting me crash your meeting. I mean, I've always kind of crashed B&M because you guys have let me be the oh my god, what's it called? The assistant? The what's it called?
NMC?
Yeah, NMC. I'm sorry, my brain is fried. We had a lot of school, so I'm always happy to just listen in, and it's so fun. Oh, no, is she the Girl Scout?
Yes.
Oh, I ate so many of your cookies. I was the Girl Scout.
Yeah.
Thank you for your cookies.
You're welcome. Thank you for buying.
It's my pleasure. I was also a Girl Scout, so gotta support. Sorry,
Very
please
nice.
continue. Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. We were just sort of trying to wrap up. So I think we just have to stay in touch about it. I'm glad we got to have the discussion in this place because we can't have a discussion outside of the meetings. So it was helpful to hear your thoughts and get to go back and forth. Yeah, any final comments? Go ahead, Monica, for today.
I just want to add.
Uh-oh,
Mon-
froze.
Yeah, I thought Michael. Monica, you froze, like we couldn't hear anything. You can repeat it.
I was trying to talk. Can I talk?
Yes, because it was like your video was freezing, so we couldn't hear anything.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I go ahead? Can I talk? Okay. When you send us the material to read, I was wondering if we can send you our opinions and thoughts before, after we read, we can give it to you some information, Alexis, so maybe you have an idea what we're looking at or how we're feeling about. Like today, we could have sent you first my opinions about 1 and 2, because I knew the areas. But I was thinking, because sometimes you don't have enough time to everybody to get the opinion, or you don't have the chance. So I think we need to create some form that everybody gives the opinion. It can be ahead of time. So sometimes we capture too much time. So I was thinking that, so you can hear me what I want to say.
So are you suggesting that for future decisions, Monica? Or are you talking about this decision also, like some more time?
In future decisions in general, because you normally send us, even with that, you send us ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we can read, and we can, when you go to the candidates, you send your questions ahead of time. Well, we can do something like that you have an idea more or less, and maybe you can use those suggestions, send it to you, and start calling one at a time, and maybe you say, can you explain to us why you feel like this or something, so we all have the chance to expose our thoughts. So that was something. And I also was thinking about number 1 because number 1, I like it better than 2 because 2 is more commercial. It has more places, restaurants, and number 1 is not. So the other one,
Yeah, I know, but like when it says 8 up there, is that like Hispanic? Let me see that back.
okay, thank you.
Thank you for that process feedback. Yeah, I know it was late to get you the maps. We were messing with them until just an hour or so before, a couple hours before I sent them to you.
It was plenty. I mean, for me, it was plenty. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's best to do a little more. Bye, Rehana. Thank you very much. All right, well, we will be in touch soon about next steps and what else we find out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
They go back inside?